Okay. WSG, Kylian Mbappé, 1-1.
To never stop dreaming. It's something free. Of course you have to work, of course you have to do, like you said, sacrifice. Of course there is a lot of things, but the most important thing is you have to dream. You can be young, you can be old, you can be whatever you want, but everybody can dream. And that's something free, and that's something gives you the power and the patience to do the things after.
There's a moment in every man's life when he gets exactly what he wanted. When the dream he drew on his bedroom wall as a child materialises in front of him, in real time, with 80,000 people chanting his name. Kylian Mbappé stood at the centre of the Santiago Bernabeu, arms outstretched, spinning slowly, taking it in. Real Madrid's new number 9. He looked like a man who had arrived. But if you watched carefully, really carefully, there was something else in his eyes, something harder to name. Not joy exactly, not relief, something closer to calculation. Like a man running numbers in his head, even as confetti rained down around him. 80,000 people loved him that day. Fast forward to March 2026. 40 million people would sign a petition demanding he leave. This is the story of how that happened, and what it tells us about the thing we call greatness. To understand Kylian Mbappé, you have to understand a number. 93, Seine-Saint-Denis, Department 93, the northeastern suburbs of Paris. If Paris is the city of lights, the 93 is where the lights flicker and sometimes go out entirely. Mbappé was born in Bondy in 1998, just months before France won their first World Cup on home soil. His father, Wilfred, was a football coach from Cameroon. His mother, Faiza Lamari, was a handball player of Algerian descent. Sport wasn't just something the family did, it was the family business. It was the family religion. There is a very popular French story, the story of a poor immigrant child who rises from the banlieue to become a national hero, transcending race and class and circumstance through sheer athletic brilliance. It is a story of meritocracy made manifest. It is inspiring, tidy and politically convenient. But that is not quite the story of Kylian Mbappé. Mbappé was not poor. His family was solidly middle class. His father ran a local football academy. His mother managed his early career with surgical precision. Young Kylian did not escape the projects through raw talent alone. He was cultivated, optimized. From the very beginning, the Mbappé project was a family operation. This distinction matters. When people talk about Mbappé as a dictator, and they do talk about this constantly, they often miss this crucial piece of context. Mbappé did not stumble into power accidentally. He was raised to acquire it. He was taught from childhood that talent without leverage is just entertainment for other people. His father once said, "Kylian understood very young that football is a business. We made sure he understood." By age 6, Mbappé was already training at AS Bondy, his father's club. By 11, he had trials at Chelsea, Manchester City, Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. At 14, he moved to Monaco's academy. In interviews from this period, the young Mbappé is striking. He speaks with an eerie self-assurance. He does not say he wants to be a professional footballer, he says he will be one. He does not hope to play for Real Madrid someday, he states it as fact, as though reading from a script that has already been written. "I always knew what I wanted," he said years later. "The problem is when you know what you want, people think you're arrogant. But I just see it. I see what needs to happen." There's a word for this quality, several words actually. Vision, confidence, delusion, arrogance. The word you choose says more about you than it does about Mbappé. They called him a dictator. It's a word that gets thrown around in football, usually at players who demand too much, want too much, need too much. Cristiano Ronaldo has been called a dictator. So has Lionel Messi, though less often, because Messi's dictatorship is quieter, expressed through meaningful silences rather than explicit demands. But with Mbappé, the accusation carried a particular weight. The stories from PSG were legendary. and they accumulated over years like sediment forming rock. Mbappé had veto power over transfer targets. When the club wanted to sign a player Kylian didn't approve of, the deal would mysteriously collapse. When Neymar's contract came up for renewal, Mbappé allegedly had a say in whether it should be extended. He didn't want it to be. The relationship between Neymar and Mbappé curdled publicly. Passive-aggressive social media posts and icy body language on the pitch. There was a penalty dispute, who would take them, who had the right, that became a symbol of something larger. Two egos in a space built for one. Mbappé reportedly had input on tactical decisions, on playing time for other players, on which coaches should stay and which should go. When Thomas Tuchel was sacked in 2020, despite leading PSG to a Champions League final just months earlier, whispers circulated that Mbappé had wanted him gone. The French press called it Le Projet Mbappé. The whole club restructured around one man's ambitions. But here's the thing about these stories. Most of them come from anonymous sources, from people close to the situation, from rival players with their own grievances. The football media loves narratives of player power run amok. It confirms something they want to believe, that the inmates are running the asylum, that money has corrupted the natural order of things. So let's ask a different question. Let's say all of it is true. Let's say Mbappé really did have this power, really did exercise it, really did bend an entire football club to his will. Is that wrong? Here is what we know about Kylian Mbappé's mind, pieced together from interviews and observations and the testimony of people who have worked with him. He is obsessive about preparation. He watches footage of opponents for hours before matches. He studies their patterns, their tendencies, their weaknesses. He can tell you which defender drops their hips before committing to a tackle, which goalkeeper cheats to their left on penalties. He is obsessive about nutrition, about sleep, about recovery. His body is a machine and he maintains it like one. He is obsessive about legacy. Mbappé does not just want to win, he wants to be remembered as one of the greatest players in history. He has said this explicitly, without embarrassment. He measures himself against Pelé, against Maradona, against Messi and Ronaldo. "I don't want to be a good player," he said once. "I want to be in the conversation." The conversation. When you are this obsessive, this certain, this driven, what does it feel like to be surrounded by people who do not share your intensity? Imagine being Mbappé at PSG. You have given everything to this project. You have turned down Real Madrid, your childhood dream, to stay and help build something. And year after year, you watch the club make decisions that seem irrational to you. Signing players who don't fit the system, hiring coaches who don't understand the players, making the same mistakes over and over. And you see the solution. You see exactly what needs to happen. You've always seen it, but no one will listen, so you make them listen. Is that dictatorship? Or is it just a man who refuses to accept mediocrity when he knows excellence is possible? One of Mbappé's former coaches at Monaco, Leonardo Jardim, once said, "Kylian is not difficult. Kylian just has very high standards. When people cannot meet those standards, they call him difficult. But the problem is not Kylian. The problem is they cannot keep up." This framing is perhaps too generous. It absolves Mbappé of any responsibility for the chaos that seemed to follow him. But it captures something true about how Mbappé sees himself. He does not think he is a dictator. He thinks he is the only person in the room who is serious. Mbappé's first season at Real Madrid was not a disaster. Let's be clear about that. He scored goals, he provided assists, he had moments of genuine brilliance, a hat-trick against Valladolid, a decisive goal in El Clasico, flashes of the terrifying acceleration that had once made him seem superhuman. But something was off. The Mbappé who arrived at Madrid was not the Mbappé who had destroyed Argentina in the 2022 World Cup final. He was not the teenager who had electrified Monaco, not the young man who had made League One look like a training exercise. He was slower. Not slow, no one would call him slow, but slower than he had been. The first step that had once been impossible to defend was now merely very difficult. The burst of speed that had left defenders grasping at air was now just a very fast run. Age comes for everyone. Mbappé was 25 when he joined Madrid, which in athletic terms is not old, but he had been playing professional football since he was 17. His body had absorbed 8 years of sprinting and contact and recovery and more sprinting. The margins at the highest level are razor thin, and even a small decline is enough to shift the calculus. There were also tactical issues. At PSG, the team had been built around Mbappé. Every attack flowed through him. He was the focal point, the solution to every problem. At Madrid, he was one weapon among several. Vinicius Jr. was already the team's most dangerous attacker on the left wing, Mbappé's preferred position. He had to play as a centre-forward, a position he had never particularly liked. He had to learn new patterns, new movements, new ways of finding space. He struggled. He was trying, he was adapting, he was doing his best in a new system, a new league, a new environment. Anyone who had watched him train would tell you that Kylian Mbappé was one of the hardest workers at the club. The goals were still there, but the magic wasn't there. The team wasn't gelling, and because Mbappé was the biggest name, the most expensive player, the one with the highest expectations, he became the focal point of frustration. This is the bargain that superstar athletes make. They accept the glory when things go well, so they must accept the blame when things go poorly. There is a theory about elite athletes that goes something like this. The qualities that make someone great are the same qualities that make someone impossible. The obsession, the selfishness, the inability to accept anything less than dominance. These are not bugs, they are features. You cannot have Michael Jordan without the gambling, the cruelty to teammates, the pathological competitiveness. You cannot have Muhammad Ali without the arrogance, the provocation, the need to be the centre of every room. You cannot have Kylian Mbappé without the control, the calculation, the conviction that he knows better than everyone else. Greatness and difficulty are not separate, they are the same thing, viewed from different angles. This theory is comforting in a way. It absolves great people of their sins. It says they could not have been otherwise. The flaws were necessary. But I'm not sure it's true, or rather, I think it's true enough to explain a pattern, but not true enough to excuse behaviour. Yes, many great athletes are difficult, but many great athletes are also kind, generous, humble. The correlation between excellence and arrogance is real, but not universal. And anyway, explanation is not justification. Understanding why someone behaves badly does not mean we must accept it. Mbappé is not a bad person. There is no evidence that he has done anything truly cruel or harmful. He has, by all accounts, been generous with his money, supporting charitable causes, helping old friends and family members. What he has done is be selfish in the way that elite athletes are often selfish. He has prioritized himself, his career, his legacy, over the feelings and preferences of others. He has demanded control and exercised it without always considering the consequences. This is not villainy, it's just ambition, pressed to its logical extreme. The question is whether we want to celebrate that ambition or merely acknowledge it. Whether we want to reward that kind of single-mindedness or push back against it. I don't have an answer. I'm not sure there is one. It represents the way we build people up so we can tear them down. The way we create heroes and then demand they be perfect and then punish them savagely when they turn out to be human. Mbappé did not ask to be put on a pedestal. Or rather, he did ask. His whole life has been a campaign for greatness. But he did not ask for the pedestal to be this high, or this narrow, or this unstable. We wanted him to be the next Messi, the next Ronaldo, the next transcendent figure who would define a generation of football. When he turned out to be merely an extraordinary player having a difficult time, we felt betrayed. But the betrayal was our own fault. We were the ones who built the pedestal. We were the ones who demanded perfection. Mbappé just showed up and tried to play football. Let's try one more time to get inside. You are Kylian Mbappé. You are 27 years old. You have achieved more than almost any footballer in history by this age. World Cup winner, multiple league titles, hundreds of goals, hundreds of millions of dollars. And yet, you are standing in the Bernabeu and 40 million people have signed a petition saying they want you gone. Your teammates are cordial but distant. The fans who used to chant your name now whistle when you miss a chance. Your dream has come true. You are at Real Madrid. You wear the white shirt. But the dream does not feel like you thought it would feel. It feels like pressure, like expectation, like a weight that never lifts. You lie awake at night and run the numbers, the goals you should have scored, the passes you should have made, the decisions you should have made differently. You think about Bondi, about the wall with your face on it, about the boy who dreamed this exact dream. Did that boy know it would feel like this? Did he understand that getting what you want is not the same as wanting what you get? You don't have answers. You just have the next game, and the game after that, and the game after that. You get up, you train, you try again, because that's all you've ever known how to do. There is a kind of tragedy that is not about failure. It's about success that tastes like ashes. It's about reaching the summit and discovering that the view is not what you expected. It's about getting everything you wanted and realizing, too late, that wanting was the best part. Kylian Mbappé is not a tragic figure in the traditional sense. He has not fallen from grace into ruin. He has not lost everything. But there is something tragic about his story nonetheless. He did everything right. He worked harder than everyone else. He made the right decisions, or what seemed like the right decisions at the time. He reached the very top of his profession. And it wasn't enough. Not because he failed, but because success itself was insufficient. Because no amount of goals, no number of trophies, no quantity of adulation could fill whatever void drove him to pursue these things in the first place. The tragedy of Kylian Mbappé is not that he fell short. It's that he arrived, and arrival was not what he needed. As I write this, Kylian Mbappe's story is not over. He is still at Real Madrid, he is still scoring goals, still playing at a level that most footballers could never dream of reaching. The petition has faded from the news. The crisis, such as it was, has passed. Maybe he will find his form. Maybe he will win the Champions League with Madrid, silence his critics, write the ending he always imagined. He has the talent, he has the drive. Stranger things have happened. Or maybe he won't. Maybe the struggles will continue, the whispers will grow louder, and eventually, quietly, the Mbappé era at Madrid will end, not with a bang, but with a whimper. We don't know yet. That's the nature of stories that are still being lived. As I wrote this script, I found myself continuously trying to put Kylian Mbappé into some sort of category, to make some tidy, neat narrative. I wanted to typify him over and over. Is he a misunderstood genius? Not exactly. Is he an arrogant prima donna? Not quite. Perhaps he is a dreamer who achieved his dream and found it hollow, but still not exactly. That doesn't feel quite comprehensive. Altogether, I am reminded that the human condition inherently defies these sort of neat, tidy ideas. The truth of Kylian Mbappé is tremendously simple and unpoetic. He is a man who has done impressive things and frustrating things. He is a player who has thrilled and disappointed. He is a person who contains contradictions, like all people do. This truth provides little prognosis for Kylian Mbappé, and it eludes conventional ideas about storytelling. It does not provide a neat, compelling, resolving narrative, but it does capture something more and greater than idle storytelling. That is a very true idea about being human. There is not a person alive who can be wholly described in a single sentence. There is not a person alive who can be indicted or championed so simply. You could say Kylian Mbappé is a control freak who destroyed every team he touched with his ego. You could say he's a visionary genius who was failed by institutions that couldn't match his ambition. Either way, you'd be just about right.